what's up everyone? It's Emily and welcome back to my channel. So June is here, it is Pride Month. I'm not dressed for June. I am wearing a sweater because we are having a particularly chilly day today. But I wanted to give some recommendations for books that are coming out. All of the books on my list are either coming out on May 31st, which obviously is the day before June, or they are coming out sometime in the month of June. All of them have some sort of LGBTQ plus representation. I tried to choose books that sounded interesting and had a different variety of characters in them. Slight disclaimer, I've only read a handful of these so far that I received as ARCs from NetGalley. Everything else has yet to come out yet and I have not read, so please read them at your discretion. If there are clear triggers that are talked about in the book, I am going to try and mention them as much as possible, but please do your research and check for yourself before you pick one up. So without further ado, let's get to it. So the first book I want to talk about is called Improbable Magic for Cynical Witches. I just finished this book this morning. It comes out on May 31st. So this book takes place in Salem, Massachusetts, and our main character's name is Eleanor, and she is the least witchy person to exist. And she does happen to work in a witch-themed shop, and one day a tarot book, like a how to use tarot cards book, comes into the shop and she decides to read it, and through the story of the Fool, if you aren't familiar with tarot, you have the major arcana cards, and those cards tell us the Fool's journey, and her story kind of mimics this Fool's journey. So as we read along in the book about each of the major arcana cards, we read a part of the story that kind of mimics what that card means, which I thought was a really cool concept. As someone who loves tarot and all things witchy, like, that was really cool. While that's all happening, this other girl named Pix, who is the human embodiment of like sunshine and stardust, comes into the shop and invites Eleanor to kind of meet with her coven. And Eleanor is a little bit off put by it. And Eleanor has been having some struggles with the other people in the town as well. She's got a little bit of a complicated past. So she's worried that this past is going to stop her from finding love, but on top of that, from like making these friendships last. So this is a sapphic book, and I will say content warning for hinted at sexual assault. Well, it's a little bit more than hinted at, but it's not in detail, and also frequent marijuana use. The next book that is also coming out on May 31st is called Out of the Blue by Jason June. This one looks so adorable. I can't lie. It is about a person named Crest. Well, not really a person, they're a mermaid. And part of this mermaid culture is that you have to come to land and you have one moon cycle to help a human. And if you do that, you get to become an elder mer person. And if you do not do that, you have to live on land forever. And they do not want that because they do not see humans in a very positive light. Crest ends up going to Los Angeles and meets Sean, who just recently got broken up with by his boyfriend. And Crest says, well, I bet we could make your boyfriend pretty jealous if you and I start pretending to date. So this is a kind of fake dating trope romance, and one of our main characters is non-binary, and yeah, so I think this one sounds adorable. It comes out on May 31st. I can't remember if I already said that. So this one sounds so cute. And I really can't wait to hear what other people have to say about it, and I'm considering picking this one up myself. The next one I want to talk about is Only Pieces by Ed Tello, which comes out on June 1st. This one I did do a full review of on my Goodreads, so I'm going to link that down below for everyone to read. And it is the story of a teenager who is a Mexican-American. His parents immigrated from Mexico, and he is struggling with coming out to his family as gay. And this book is also written in verse, so it was a really quick read, but it was highly emotional, and I really enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend this to anyone who is looking for something a little bit different. and it's a very beautiful story and definitely worth the read. The next one I want to talk about is called Wrath Goddess Sing by Deane, and it comes out on June 7th. And this one totally piqued my interest because it is a Iliad retelling, so people will probably think of the Song of Achilles, but just, you know, the Greek myth, the Iliad, with Achilles and Patroclus, but it is told through Achilles as a transgender woman. So this really piqued my interest, and I am really interested to hear what people have to say about this one. I just really like the concept of it because there's a lot of mythology of men dressing up as women in Greek myths and in Norse mythology and all of these things, and I kind of like the idea of taking that and not taking it a step further, because I'm not saying that people they choose to be transgender or something like that, but to instead be like, it's not just a man in women's clothing, like, no, this person just always was a woman. And I just think that's really interesting. So I'm curious to hear what people have to say about it. It has some really good reviews on Goodreads, so definitely interested in that, and I definitely want to hear what people have to say about it. The next one I want to talk about is So Happy For You by Celia Laskey. This one kind of makes me feel like it's gonna be like a Bridesmaids sort of a book. Like the movie. It also comes out on June 7th, and this is about these two childhood best friends. One is named Robin, I believe that's our main character, and she's gay, and she has been asked by her best friend to be the maid of honor at her wedding. And when she gets there, things are kind of not really what she expects it to be. Like, she thinks that everyone is kind of out to get her and that maybe people aren't as accepting of her as she had thought initially. It's supposed to be really funny and really campy, so that's kind of why I'm interested in this. It just sounds very different than a lot of queer stories that we get to read. And the author, I believe, says that it's supposed to kind of explore the complexities of female friendship. So I don't know, it just sounded like something really different. And I mean, it's a comedy, and I haven't like read a lot of comedies, so I would be really interested to see how this one goes. Like, so I'm curious to hear what people have to say about it. And yeah, like, this one sounds so just funny. I don't know. The next one I want to talk about is The Perfect Crimes of Marion Hayes by Sebastian. This book also comes out on June 7th. I'm gonna put not a warning, but I'm just like, this one is supposed to be pretty steamy, pretty spicy. So this is like everything else I've talked about so far, other than maybe the last one and maybe the Wrath Goddess Sing, maybe those two are probably more adult. And this one is definitely adult, but everything else I've talked about so far has been pretty much like YA. So this one is definitely leaning more into the more like adult heavy romance, and it's supposed to be an enemies to lovers. So it's a historical enemies to lovers romance with two queer main characters. And basically at the beginning of the book, Marion's husband tries to kill her and she escapes to the countryside, but the only person that she can call upon to help her is this man who is blackmailing her, which sounds very interesting. So I've heard about this book before I looked it up, which is telling me that it's probably pretty highly anticipated by a lot of people. So I am curious to listen to some reviews about it and to read some more about it. It's gotten some pretty good praise so far. I'm really intrigued to hear what people have to say about this one. The next one I want to talk about is The Gravity of Missing Things by Marisa Urgo. This one really piqued my interest. So we have a bi main character, and in the synopsis I did not get their names, so I have no idea what the name is. But basically, Flight 113 goes missing, so an airplane just went missing, and social media is freaking out, being like, did the pilot do this on purpose? Where did it go? This was definitely the pilot doing something bad. I don't know exactly what they're implying it would be, but basically everyone's blaming the pilot for this and that it's some sort of conspiracy or something. And our main character knows that that cannot be the case because the pilot is their mother. And before their mom left, she left a note saying, "Trust me." So this book follows this person trying to figure out what happened to this flight and hopefully finding their mom. I just thought that sounded so fascinating, and the concept of it really piqued my interest. So I'm really curious about reading this one. This one I'm definitely adding to my own TBR. So I hope other people read it and let me know what they think. The next one I want to talk about is The Sea Knows My Name by Laura Brooke. This one comes out on June 14th. Our main character is a girl named Thea, and she is bisexual. I do want to put out here right away as well that it does have a content warning for sexual assault. This book has pirates, which automatically made me want to learn more about it immediately. Our main character has felt like a disappointment to her mother her entire life, and when she falls in love with a sailor, she decides to leave everything and be with him. But when she is ultimately betrayed, she learns that there are multiple ways to be strong, which I thought was very beautiful. And the concept of this with the pirates and the everything really had it stand out to me. So I'm very curious about this book, and I definitely am looking at putting this one on my own TBR as well. So June 14th. The next one I want to talk about is called Bad Things Happen Here by Rebecca Barrow, and it comes out on June 28th. This book revolves around our main character, Luca, and Luca lives on a cursed island where there's a curse. Obviously, it's a cursed island, but it seems to target only young women specifically. And when the curse takes her little sister, she decides that like enough is enough, and why doesn't anybody care about this? I'm gonna stop it. So it's supposed to be kind of a YA mystery thriller. I definitely got thriller feelings from it when I read the when I read the little blurb about it. Apparently there are lots of twists and turns in it, and it just sounded really interesting. Our main character is a lesbian, but the whole book apparently has a pretty diverse cast. So I'm really excited for this one as well. This one is another one I'm gonna add to my own TBR. So if you guys have read this, or if you guys plan on reading it, please let me know, because I would be so down to buddy read any of these, by the way, so just let me know. The last one I want to talk about is If You Recognize Me by Cynthia So, and this one comes out on June 9th. And this one kind of seems to give me like very sweet high school romance vibes to it. So our main character is in love with their kind of like long distance best friend and decides to tell her that she has feelings for her. But at the same time, her long-term best friend, who had been out of her life for however long, has now come back into her life, and she now has to kind of choose which person she wants to pursue, I suppose. That's kind of what I understood from the blurb. It really sounds like a sweet summer romance about a young character who is learning about themselves and exploring what it means to be, you know, a teenager. And I loved the concept of the long distance kind of friendship, relationship, and love. It just seemed like a nice twist on a story that like is very familiar. And on top of that, this cast is extremely diverse. I had like a little, I'll try and put it here. I was looking at like screenshots of the website looking for these, and it has, you know, everything in the book, and this one was just super huge, and I definitely wanted to include that because I love reading diversely. I hope that you all love reading diversely, and this book sounds so sweet. So those are all the books I have so far that are upcoming new releases for this month. There are so many more coming out. I'm going to put lots of links in the description to lists of books for you all to look through. I could only talk about so many before I felt like I was going to be talking everyone's ear off, so definitely check those out if you're interested. If you're looking at reading any of these books, please let me know down below which ones kind of caught your interest. If I can, I want to do some more Pride recommendations. I did one last year specifically for bi representation in books, which I will put up above, but I wanted to do more last year and I just ended up not being able to, just because life totally got away from me. If I can make more recommendations, I totally will. If you have any recommendations for me, please leave them down below. I love hearing what everyone else is reading. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more of my content, please feel free to like and subscribe to my channel. I post at least one new video every week. Thank you so much for being here as always, and I hope to see you in the next one.